is going on, Colts Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Sleeper Colts. I am your host, as always, Cody Felger. Good to be back with you today, guys. And I wanted to recap day one officially of Colts practice. The Colts had practice on Wednesday for their first official practice kicking off camp. And, we typically in the offseason had, kind of like weekly episodes, right? But with camp in full swing now, I wanted to kind of do more daily recaps of what we see from camp as opposed to just the one per week type of episode here. So apologies on the lateness of getting this one. I know the Colts have another practice here today. So with that being said, guys, there was a lot of interesting tidbits here in day one of practice for the Colts. And of course, I'll have practice recaps from each and every day, but I wanted to start here with what we saw from day one here from camp, and we got to start with Daniel Jones. Of course, obviously all eyes are going to be on Daniel Jones this training camp and everything, coming back, rehabbing from that torn Achilles. Some stuff for Daniel Jones that we saw on Wednesday was he took every single team rep on 11 on 11s and pretty much everywhere. And Jones was 4 of 8 on the day. Of course, that being without, obviously, Alec Pierce, who's still recovering from the surgery he had earlier in the offseason. But 4 of 8, and of course, playing against, the Colts' 2 top corners, Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner up there, without Alec Pierce. He did actually have some good pocket movement, which is great to see for Daniel Jones. That's something he kind of wondered about, like how mobile was he truly going to be early on in camp, but it seemed like there were some really good things that he showed. He actually had a scramble as well, which is great. That's something we didn't see in the spring from Daniel Jones, so it definitely seems like he is pretty much back in terms of his mobility, which is great to hear for sure. Even though the stats weren't necessarily great, it was definitely great progress for Daniel Jones here early on in camp, and had a couple nice passes to Tyler Warren as well, which is great to see. And obviously Warren in for a big year here, led the Colts in targets last year. You think that's going to continue this year, which is great to see. As far as the backup quarterback situation goes, we saw a little bit of both for both Anthony Richardson and Riley Leonard, right? Richardson was the quote-unquote backup quarterback to start camp yesterday, although ironically enough, Riley Leonard actually outsnapped him when it came to the second team reps overall. When you look at it, Richardson 4 of 5 throwing, had a really nice throw over the middle to undrafted guy Samir Hagens. Riley Leonard was 2 of 4. DJ Giddens did have a drop, but both quarterbacks fairly even at that point. And Shane Steichen continuing to say they're going to continue to rotate both these guys in for that backup role. So that's kind of interesting there. I already mentioned the cornerbacks, and obviously without Alec Pierce out there, Josh Downs was the top wide receiver for this team. And we really got to see both cornerbacks shine, Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner on the outside. We really got to see them make some nice plays as well. And really just great to see, because we really didn't see that last year, did we, guys? We didn't see Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner together much. Either one guy or both guys were injured at one point in the season. And so it was great to see both those guys starting to come around already, and you're starting to see glimpses of what this quarterback duo on the outside could truly be, which was great to see. And we saw both Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner making plays yesterday, which is obviously great news right there. And we got a little bit of a glimpse into what could be this season if all goes well. Cam Bynum put it this way. He said it's really beautiful to see both these guys out there together as a cornerback duo. So really excited for that, guys, and what that could potentially hold as you're kind of looking as well with that conversation, with the Alec Pierce injury. The wide receiver position obviously looked a little bit depleted, right? It looked like it might be a position the Colts really seriously need to consider adding to from what we've all heard. So that's definitely still on the table, obviously, but I definitely think that's something. If this continues, you need to add a vet wideout in there for sure. Another piece of news, Jonathan Taylor was practicing on Wednesday. I know there was some speculation around the fact of, is Jonathan Taylor potentially going to hold in again like he did back in 2023? But it appears none of the venom, none of the issues that were plaguing Jonathan Taylor and the Colts back in 23 are present here. Taylor seems pretty confident that a deal is going to get done here, and he said, I want to be a Colt for life. And so you love to see kind of the difference in demeanor from Jonathan Taylor here in 2023, which was great to see. He talked about how he's got faith that a third deal will get done with the team, which you'll love to see that. And obviously you hope Jonathan Taylor's a Colt for life because he's obviously been so massive for this team for so many years. Talk about as well DeForest Buckner, who obviously all eyes are on this offseason. The Colts really didn't share a whole lot about his status, but Buckner was cleared at the start of camp to start practicing. And as the Colts said, they were going to ease him back in, and Wednesday was a clear indication of that as he just did more of the individual stuff to start camp, which was great. Shane Steichen didn't really give a whole lot of a clear definition on when exactly the Colts would like to get Buckner into team drills. So I'm okay with the Colts, expressing an overabundance of caution with Buckner because, like we've talked about before in the show, that's a very serious and scary injury that Buckner had last year. And so I'm okay with the Colts taking it easy on Buckner at this point, which is great. Both Alec Pierce and CJ Allen, guys who obviously are on the PUP list right now, both were at practice and present. Both were doing some stuff on the stationary bike right now. Pierce was doing a couple things, had a couple conversations, was catching some passes from Reggie Wayne on the sideline. So kind of working his way back to where he needs to be. And it was kind of interesting without CJ Allen out there. We got to see Akeem Davis-Gaither be the main guy that was calling the plays on defense. And then we got to see the rookie Bryce Betcher as well out there at linebacker. So you kind of think those would be kind of the next guys up. You think Akeem Davis-Gaither is probably going to be, that weak side linebacker, whereas it appears, at least right now, Bryce Betcher might be that backup Mike. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see kind of how that played out without CJ Allen, because CJ Allen was kind of the only one that you 100% right in pen, he's going to be a day one starter. It's kind of what it looked like right now. And of course, if you remember, obviously Akeem Davis-Gaither and Lou Anarumo spent some time in Cincinnati, so there's some familiarity there. So, if something were to happen, in the season, and you're kind of wondering, outside of Allen, who calls the plays, it appears that Davis-Gaither is kind of that next man up there, and what you would call that green dot guy that's going to call the plays for you. So that's definitely great to know a little bit more of that nugget of how that would be, if CJ Allen isn't present on the field come the season at some point. So that was definitely interesting there. Another piece of interesting news, and one of the other position battles that we kind of watch, was that strong safety position. And actually, it was Hunter Wohler who started alongside Cam Bynum on day one of practice. I fully expect for a bunch of different guys to get opportunities to start at that strong safety spot. But early on, it is Hunter Wohler right now. Second-year safety. The Colts were very high on him coming out last year. Obviously went down with that injury, missed the entirety of the season. But the Colts were extremely excited about Hunter Wohler, his rookie season, and obviously still remain high on him here in year two. So regardless of who does start that strong safety position, I do believe that Hunter Wohler is in for a pretty big role with this team this year. The Colts obviously very bullish on Hunter Wohler ever since they drafted him out of Wisconsin back in last year's draft. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this strong safety position pans itself out right now, because obviously outside of Wohler, you have AJ Holsey, who you drafted in round 3, very physical, great cover safety there. So where does he factor in? How's that competition going to heat up? Do we see another starter in further practices, or is Hunter Wohler kind of the guy to beat right now? That's just going to be a very interesting conversation moving forward when it comes to that strong safety position. And don't forget a guy like Jonathan Owens as well, who's had some starting reps in his time in the NFL, more of a veteran player in there as well. So very interested kind of in how that whole thing, works itself out for sure. And a little bit to kind of wrap this up, starting offense and defense for the Colts. You start out quarterback Daniel Jones, running back Jonathan Taylor, wide receiver Ashton Doolin, wide receiver Laquan Treadwell, wide receiver Josh Downs, tight end Tyler Warren, left tackle Bernard Ryman, left guard Quentin Nelson, center Tanner Bortolini, right guard Matt Gonsalves, and right tackle Jalen Travis. Not a whole lot of surprises there. Like I mentioned, the wide receiver position, it's a little sketchy right now. We'll see how that pans out. Defensive-wise, you have Leatu Latu, Grover Stewart, Colby Wooden, with obviously DeForest Buckner not doing team stuff right now. Arden Key right now is the starter at the other edge position. Bryce Betcher and Nakeem Davis-Gaither at linebacker, like I mentioned. Charvarius Ward, Sauce Gardner on the outside. Justin Wally at the nickel. Cam Bynum at safety. And Hunter Wooler at the other safety. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what all happened on day one of camp. Obviously, a long way to go here for the Colts. Still got under about a month and a half-ish until the regular season kicks off. So a lot of things are subject to change from the first day of, training camp to obviously the start of the regular season. But definitely a strong start here for the Indianapolis Colts. So you love to see that for sure. And we'll just have to see, guys, what exactly happens with some of these training camp battles moving forward, and obviously some contract extensions as well with Jonathan Taylor and maybe some others that are coming up in the pipeline here soonish. But yeah, guys, just wanted to give you a quick recap. Like I said, I'm going to be trying to give you guys more of a daily recap whenever practices do happen for this team. There's a couple more practices this week, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. That'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And as always, guys, have a good one.